Hello everybody, I'm almost sick of making 2 videos a day, to be honest with you, but it feels like we have to, as I am wearing Geordie colours, which is a bit weird. But it's quite apt for this video, as Newcastle have rejected another bid. I think it's our second, potentially even third bid when it comes to Sean Longstaff now, which is crazy. It feels 10 million quid plus 2 according to Lee Ryder, according to Keith Downey, according to pretty much every single spot-on journalist you get up there. Fabrizio Romano was saying an agreement was in place. Newcastle have rejected the bid after Longstaff has effectively said his camp that he wants to move to Leeds United. Newcastle would get pure profit because he's a homegrown player. And I think we all thought this one was going to be the next one, the ticker. It doesn't appear that one is being completed anytime soon. It feels like this negotiation might go on for a little bit now. Why? Well, his market value, all I can think is 17 million quid. And maybe Newcastle have just looked at it and thought we could get closer to that. If Leeds are willing to pay, and it happens in negotiation, doesn't it? But if Leeds are willing to pay 12 million quid, if they really want him, they'll be willing to pay close to 15 or 17. Now, I just think we've got to be reasonably careful here with what we do and how far we go with Longstaff. I think the primary objective for the midfield right now, for me, is unequivocally Anton Stack. I think Anton Stack brings a different dimension. I think there's a variance in formations. I think he's a starter for Leeds United ultimately. We can move to a midfield 3 with him in there comfortably. I think he could play against top 6 sides. I think he could play against the bottom 6 sides as well. I think there's enough of a variance in his game to be able to plug him in any Premier League match, really. With Longstaff, I think you have to use him sparingly, and we did a bit of a breakdown this morning on that, so go check that out in terms of how Leeds will use these rotations when it comes to midfield. But for me, Sean Longstaff is a footballer of which is limited. He will bring Leeds United a definite plus point in terms of attributes and energy and endeavour and box to box and getting up and down the pitch. But where is the price limit there with a man who in 12 months' time will be walking away from Newcastle for absolutely free? I think this is where we've got to be a little bit careful because, as I say, we could pick him up next year for free. How far do you go? I feel, in the recent PSR problems that Newcastle have faced, they don't appear to be facing them anymore. I think they're at a clean bill of health, hence why they've been able to get hold of Anthony Elanga for 55 million quid plus add-ons. But if you actually look at their, the sales over the past however many years, the clear one has been Elliot Anderson for 40 million quid through their academy, which quantified as pure profit. They might be thinking with Sean Longstaff that, well, we can not get something near to that, of course, but we should be able to get more for an academy product. And maybe that's what they feel. And if Leeds are willing to go the distance in terms of paying 12 million, then they'd be willing to go and pay 15 to 17 million quid. And I'm just a little bit unnerved by that, to be honest with you. And it is that Premier League thing. But I do think this whole Prem-proven player, I get it to an extent. I've mentioned this to you guys before. I get it to an extent. But I'm not willing to go and personally say that I want a player just because he's played matches in the Premier League. There are plenty of examples out there. You might as well go out and get Jamie Vardy. Go out and get Jamie Vardy if you want. Go out and get other players who have been playing in the Premier League for a long time. Go bring those players in. I do think the context is, of course, Sean Longstaff offers something. Of course, he does. But there are a lot of Premier League proven players who offer something as well. And I just think, I'd be okay with the signing. We mentioned this morning that it would be something of which Leeds would have to utilise in terms of rotation and potentially specific games against the mid-bracket teams. If you want a double pivot, one a little bit more box to box and one a little bit more in a single pivot, let's say Anton Stack or Ampadu, and then you've got that yin and yang when it comes to a pivot. But aside from that, and maybe to come on with the last 20 minutes of games, maybe that is something that we could look at when it comes to Longstaff. But how much onus do you put on it? Do you put another, if it is 15 million quid, do you put that as the base fee and then put add-ons in as well, which appears to be the rhetoric behind it? Do you go close to 17 million quid, which is his market value? I think there is an argument about walking away now, and Beren Cross has spoken about this. Beren has said that Leeds are considering options. They may go back in, but they are considering options. And I think this will tell you a lot, to be honest with you, when it comes to Leeds, because if there are other options and Leeds, you know, like Paraga said, you know, do negotiations in their sleep and are able to really harness down and specify a good player to come in who replicates that of Sean Longstaff abroad for a good fee, then Leeds should probably do that. I just wonder with this, with Newcastle, and look, it's Newcastle's product, it's Newcastle's asset. You know, they can do whatever the hell they want with him. But when there's like effectively a verbal agreement, the player wants to come, it seems good from Leeds side, seems good from Newcastle side, and then they reject a bid of 12 million quid. It just feels like, well, how far do we go with this now? Is this going to be a negotiation which Leeds will incrementally, you know, marginally increase the bid and then they'll reject it again? How long does this go on for? I mentioned earlier on in a tweet, you're expecting Leeds to be going on in the background as well when it comes to other signings, surely. So I don't know, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. It seems to have sparked a bit of a frenzy on social media, and it should have done, really, because, you know, we're all probably looking at it thinking, you know, you've had... And naturally, comparisons are a thing in football. People get angry in the chat, naturally. Oh, you shouldn't be comparing, but you're going to compare, naturally. And when I'm doing this channel, day in, day out, I can tell you for a fact that different fans react in different ways to football news, and that's absolutely fine. There are people comparing to other football clubs, whether it be Wolves, West Ham, which I think is a little bit out there because of the capital that these clubs have with, you know, for being in the Premier League at 8+ years. But also when you look at Sunderland in particular, who are bringing in player after player after player, we've done a little video on that on the second channel if you're interested, you know, in terms of AFCON and how that's going to go down and the quality of the players that they've brought in. But Leeds at this moment in time haven't really, aside from Jacobiel, brought in any marquee players. And you are looking at the latest training video and I'm seeing Jack Harrison in there again. I'm seeing a couple of other people in there as well, and I'm thinking, are we going to be moving these players on at any time soon? That would be nice. But it's not a negative video, of course, everybody, because I think there are better players out there than Sean Longstaff anyway. I think that's abundantly clear. But I just think it's unusual that we're at a scenario right now where both clubs had effectively agreed. Longstaff, we know now, wants to come to Leeds anyway. That's been stated in some reports from Beren. Keith Downey said that as well. Longstaff wants the move. And, you know, there was a little bit that we touched on earlier on as well, that Longstaff wants to get the best deal for Newcastle. That might be something with it as well. There might be some talks of, well, Sean, if we can get 15 million quid for you and it'll help the club, can we hold out for that? There could be something in that, guys. Football is so... A lot of the things in football you wouldn't expect to happen do happen. You know, it's not that much of a different world to the world that we live in. Things do go on like that behind the scenes. So, I don't know. I think with Longstaff, do you push the boat out again? I wouldn't go too much more. I really wouldn't. And I'm not that interested to go to 15 to 17 million anyway. If Leeds have got alternative targets who fit a similar profile, I'm not willing to go out on my sword and say something like, oh, well, but he's Prem proven, so we'll go and spend 20 million quid on him. Absolutely not, because we maintain on this channel that there are players out there who, you know, can fit into the Premier League with the attributes that you need from a Prem proven player. You see it all the time. There are more foreign players in the Premier League than English players. But it doesn't just, I understand that he doesn't just fly on it being an English player, but Sean Longstaff, if you listen to any Newcastle fan, it's about energy, it's endeavour, it's box to box, it's getting up and down the pitch. It's not like an exquisite ball carrier or a brilliant finisher or someone who's able to do like a variance in terms of his technical ability. And, you know, he's able to whack free kicks in, he's able to take penalties, he's able to deliver balls into the box, he's able to do this, that and the other. There's not a real variance in his play. He's a good player, but we've just got to make sure we don't get stuck in the mud with someone like Sean Longstaff. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm a little bit on the fence, and it depends on Leeds' situation. How much further can we go with it, really? The report that Leeds are undecided on going any further with Sean Longstaff, which is what Beren initially put out, is quite telling. Maybe they think that the cap is 12 million quid and anything more, it's not worth it. Who knows? Let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. We're back at 10 AM tomorrow. See you in a bit.